Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ganang Sugiharto, a student of Bachelor of Akuntansi program Faculty of Economics, State University of Jakarta. This occasion, I will present my research proposal. Uh, the title is Effect of Financial Distress, the Default and Profitability on what concern audit opinion. And here is about what we will discuss in this presentation. The first research background into literature review, and the third is research method. First, research background. The COVID-19 pandemic that occurred at the beginning of 2020 made the world economic experience very shock. All aspects of the economy slowed down and even stopped when the virus spread through the world. The economic crisis that occurred in 2020 is even worse than the previous economic crisis. The current crisis makes the company's financial condition unstable because many aspects are not working properly. According to the Indonesian Minister of Finance, Sri Mulyani Indrawati, as quote from Kompas.com, it was explained that the economic growth in 2020 was the worst since the last 150 years. The crisis that occurred in 2020 had a huge impact, especially for companies. One of the affected corporate sector is industrial or manufacturing companies. An example of an affected company is the Bakri Brothers company. It was recorded that the turnover of the company belonged to the Bakri Group decreased by 2001 21% to 150 170 trillion rupiah in the third quarter of 2021. From the same period in 2020 of 1,979 79 trillion rupiah. From the explanation above, we need status that can guarantee that the company can run within a certain period of time. One of them is going concern audit opinion. Going concern audit opinion is going concern is an audit opinion issued by the auditor because there are major doubt about the entity ability to maintain its viability. Going concern audit opinion is considered as an assumption to invest because creditors are unlikely to invest their funds in companies that are indicated to be bankrupt. There are several factors that influence going concern audit opinion, likely financial distress, the default and profitability. First, financial distress. Financial distress is a condition in which the company operating cash flow is not sufficient to meet its current liability. The phenomenon of financial distress occurs prior to bankruptcy. The company's financial distress condition is defined as the state of decline in condition where is experienced negative net profit for several years and the company's operating results are not sufficient to meet the company obligation. Second is the default. Debt default is a condition where the company fails to pay the principal or interest on the maturity debt, and the failure of the company to meet its debt and the interest is one of the indicators that will be examined by the auditor in measuring the company's financial condition. In addition to measuring the company's financial condition, debt default is also an indicator of assessment to assess the going concern of a company. Debt default is one of the indicators of the assessment tool to assess the going concern of a company. The third is profitability. Profitability is a summary of the net result of the business operating activity in a certain period, which is that of financial term. Profitability is one of the financial indicators used to measure the effectiveness of management in carrying the company's operational activity based on the level of profit related to sales and investment. And this is here is a result of the research, previous research. From this result, it can be seen there are inconsistency of the variable ongoing concern of the opinion. Based on the result of previous research and the research formula or hypothesis, the following is first, does financial risks affect the going concern audit opinion? The second is does default affect the going concern audit opinion? And the third, does profitability affect the going concern audit opinion? The purpose of this research is the test and analyze the influence of financial distress on going concern audit opinion. And the second is the test and analyze the effect of the default on the going concern audit opinion. And third and last, test and analyze the effect of profitability on going concern audit opinion. The benefit of study or dividend, uh, the benefit from this research into to benefit. The first is academic benefits. Is one. The first is the author has a means to enhance enhance insight and broader knowledge is related to the influence of financial distress, debt default, and profitability on the going concern audit opinion. The second is student majoring in accounting as a mean to broaden their insight and as a means of reference knowledge related to the influence of financial distress, the default and profitability of the going concern audit opinion. The third is the next research as a means of the research reference related to the influence of financial distress, deep default, and profitability on going concern audit opinion. Fourth is science to increase empirical evidence related to the influence of financial distress, debt default, and profitability on the going concern audit opinion. And the next is practical benefits from this research. The first for investor, as consider is making decision to invest so that they can be wiser when getting information contained in result of this study. Two, by the company as a contribution of and consideration in providing financial statement information to user of financial statement. Published financial statement must be trusted. The second part is literature review. The first, agency theory. Once, once of the goal of the establishing a business is to get income from the activity carried out by the business. This business is run by the party involved is making a business. However, if the business is a large business with many parties involved and group of the people or agents are needed and need to who can assist the company operational activity. The group of agents is trusted by owner on principle to manage company operation so that it can run it well. The agency theory is agency relationship is a contract that occurs between one or more principal or owner and agent or manager to be able to carry out a company activity. Vincent and Maclean explain the existence of the agency theory as a contract where the principal asks the agent to carry out a job in the principal name and involved the delegation of the authority of the decision maker to the agent. The next is signal theory. Independent auditors have a very important role in the company. The independent auditor's role to convey information about the condition that occurred in the company, both from the operational and financial aspect of the company. The information provided by the auditor in the form of a signal that it can be used by user of financial statement, especially by principal for consideration in making a decision. The theory explained that the company has the urge to provide financial statement information to external parties. This signal theory also gives signal carried out by management to reduce asymmetry information between principal and the agent so that the information produced is quality and accurate. The signal converted by auditor to company can be positive signal or good news or negative signal or bad news. The next is about the going concern audit opinion. The auditor's opinion, the opinion given by the auditor regarding the fairness of the presentation of the financial statement of the institution or company where the auditor conducts the audit. Going concern is an assumption in accounting where an attempt expects the business to continue in unlimited time called continuity. According to audit standard SA 570, an activity is considered to survive in a business for the future if it can be predicted. When concern or business continuity is argument, they consider that the business entity will continue its operation for a long time to realize the project commitment and its long activity. Next is a financial distress. Financial distress is a condition in which there is a decline in the economy experienced by the company that can cause the company to be liquidated or bankrupt. Financial distress usually occurs when the company experiences a lack of capital, the amount of debt burden, and suffer loss. This causes the company condition to unhealthy, even to experience an sustainability crisis, so that it can cause bankruptcy. If the financial liability are greater than the wealth, it can be said the company experience financial difficulty, and vice versa. The greater the difference between amount of liability and wealth, the greater the possibility of the company going bankrupt. The next is the default. The default is company failure to pay the principal or interest debt at the due date. The going concern indicator that is widely used by the auditor in giving an audit decision is the decision to fulfill his debt decision. Debt obligations are one of the criteria used to measure the inability of a business. The default will be accepted by a company or entity if it is unable to pay off the debt in accordance with the specific period. And the next is profitability. Profitability is a summary of the net result of the business operation in certain period expressed in financial terms. The role of profit as a company profitability indicator very important for analysts because profit help to estimating future profits from the business. Profitability show how companies generate profit for their operational activity. Companies with high profitability illustrate that the company is going well and can maintain its survival. Here is a result of the previous research, and from this result it can be seen that the inconsistency of the variable ongoing concern audit opinion, like by Santi, Santi et al. In 2021, financial distress is a positive effect on going concern, but from Ferdian Ritonga in 2018-19, financial distress is negative effect of the audit going concern. Based on the explanation above and the result of previous research, a conceptual framework is formed as follows, and this is a hypothesis development. Each one is financial distress has a positive effect on the growing concern audit opinion, and hypo- two hypotheses. The default has a positive effect on the growing concern audit opinion, and the last third hypothesis, profitability has a negative effect on growing concern audit opinion. The next is about research method. Unit analysis, population and sample. Unit analysis, population and sample. Analysis unit, the object of research study by the research in publicly listed company, one of the Indonesian stock exchange in 2020, based on the object of research that will be studied in the study. Quantitative research method will be used. In the population used in the study are all companies engaged in industrial sector listed on the Indonesian Stock Exchange in 2020. And the sample, the method of determining the sample used the study. This study is non-probability sampling with proposed sampling technique with some criteria, and the result, the sample of the industrial sector yang on the listed on the EDX is 42 companies with a total of 3 years observation period, so that the total data is 126. The technique used the data collection technique. Uh, the technique used the collecting data. In this study, this documentation, namely by collecting, recording, and review secondary data in the form of the company annual financial statement and independent auditor reports published by the EDX website uh, web and or from the company website. As a documentation method, this research uses liberal research, namely by collecting data from library sources that support this research. Next is operationalization of variable. Conceptual definition, going concern on opinion. The going concern of opinion is an opinion given by the auditor because there is the preventing the ability of entity in maintaining its business. The auditor must consider the result of the company operation, economic foundation, and that affect the company, their ability to pay obligation and liquidity needs in the future. And this is the operational definition going concern audit opinion. And the going concern audit opinion variable used is dummy variable with a value of 1 for the company that obtain a going concern audit opinion, and value 0 to not for not to get audit opinion. As in independent variable, financial distress. Conceptual definition: financial distress is financial trend. The company is used to show a condition when the company has difficulty paying its debt to the creditor. Strength of companies that experience financial difficulty can be seen for their financial statement, where usually financial obligations are greater than wealth, so the company experience financial difficulties and vice versa. And this is the operational definition financial distress. The financial distress is measured by the DRR ratio or debt to asset ratio. Uh, the formula is DRR ratio is debt debt total debt uh, total asset. The next is debt default. The default is failure to fulfill debt and interest obligation, which is a going concern interest that is widely used by auditors is assuming the viability of the company. Operational definition of debt default. The measured by current ratio, like formula about current ratio in screen. And the next is conceptual definition. Uh, Profitability is summary of the net result of the business operation in a certain period expressed in financial terms. Uh, Profitability can also be interpreted as the ability of the company to make a profit in relation to sales, total assets, and own capital. And this is um, operational definition about profitability. We use a measure about ROA ratio, return on asset ratio. And the next is data analysis technique. First, we use descriptive statistic analysis. The study used descriptive statistic to describe our statistic used to analyze data by describing the data that has been collected as it is without the intention of making conclusion that apply to the general public or generalization. The study used logistic uh, the study used a descriptive statistic to describe and provide overview of the frequency distribution of the variable in this study. The next, we use logistical regression. The study used logistic regression analysis because the study used dummy variable, namely going concern audit opinion and going concern audit opinion. Logistic regression is a regression that will use the test to extend to which the probability of the occurrence of the dependent variable can be predicted by the independent variable. Logistic regression hypothesis testing is used of if the independent variable is combination of metric and non-metric or nominal, thus ignoring the normality test and classical assumption test on the independent variable. The formula logistical regression like in screen. Next is we use the Hotmart testing the feasibility of the regression model. Hotmart limits show goodness of fit. To assess the feasibility on the regression model, it can be seen based on the result of customer and relational goodness of fit test. And next, we use assembling overall model fit. Model fit research is essential to assess the overall fit of the model to the data, like likelihood L of the model, or the probability that the hypothesis model describes the input. And the next, coefficient of determination, negative KR2. The value of the negative KR square varies between 1 and 2. And next, we use classical assumption test. Uh, in this study, the classical assumption test use the multicollinearity test. This test is conducted to determine whether in the relationship of correlation between independent variable or not. If there is a correlation between this variable, it means that there is a multicollinearity problem. And the next last is hypothesis testing. We use t-test was used to partially test the hypothesis in order to show the effect of each independent variable individually on the dependent variable. The t-test is test regression coefficient of the independent variable on the dependent variable to find out how much influence the dependent variable had in the dependent variable individually on the dependent variable, carried out by comparing the p-value in the signification column of the independent variable with a significant level, which 0.05. Think this my presentation. If any shortcome, please forgive me and thank you.